Hello, I'm Mark Geyer, Director of NASA's Johnson Space Center. Welcome to International Women's Day. International Women's Day, celebrated on March 8th, is a global day highlighting the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women. The day also marks a call to action for accelerating women's equality. This celebration has occurred for more than a century, with the first gathering in 1911. Today's International Women's Day belongs to all groups, collectively, everywhere. Our JSC program is particularly special as we highlight our Boeing Starliner 1 crew. These commercial crew astronauts have worked side by side with Boeing to understand their new spacecraft and launch systems, the spacesuits, and refine how they're going to operate in space. They've also been preparing to live and work aboard the International Space Station, and they have gone through significant preparation for their mission, including learning how to conduct spacewalks, maintain the space station, and perform a myriad of research investigations covering all scientific disciplines. While we take a moment to have candid conversations with our fellow teammates today, we also want to celebrate all of our employees, in particular the women who make our missions happen. Behind every triumph of space exploration are thousands of civil servants and contractor employees focused, determined, and committed to success. Before our program began, we showcased in our gallery of powerful images of women at JSC. These inspiring women all contribute to our mission each and every day. If you missed it, make sure to check the roundup for the full photo album. Here at JSC, our vision is clear. We dare to expand frontiers, we unite with our partners to complete bold missions, and we explore space to benefit humanity. NASA has led the charge in space exploration for more than 6 decades, and through the Artemis program, we will see the first woman and the next man step foot on the moon and establish a sustainable exploration plan with our commercial and international partners. International Women's Day serves as another reminder that we must strive for equality each and every day and recognize that we must be intentional about finding and creating opportunities to use and develop our skills to achieve our missions. Happy International Women's Day. I hope you enjoy our program. Thank you.
It's my privilege to welcome the Boeing Starliner One crew, Commander Sunita Williams, Dr. Jeanette Epps, and Dr. Josh Cassada, a U.S. Navy commander, a U.S. Navy captain, 2 U.S. Navy test pilots, a physicist engineer who holds several patents and is a former CIA intelligence officer, and a woman who held the record for the most number of EVAs for a woman. I'm here with this crew, and what an incredible complement of talent, a true reflection of the best and brightest our agency has to offer. Welcome, and thank you for celebrating International Women's Day. So we're going to just jump right into it. Sunny, as the commander for the crew, what are you most looking forward to having the crew accomplish?
Well, thanks for the question, Vanessa, and thanks for inviting all of us here. We're missing one, so we're looking forward to getting our fourth also for our crew, but you get what you get at this point in time. So I'm just really excited to go up to space with Josh and Jeanette. Both of them, this will be their first flight, and it's just so rewarding to see somebody be an Earthling, get up and get into space and really become comfortable and living in space with ease. And I know it's going to happen to both of them, but it's an exciting process to see that transformation happen. And I know we'll have a lot on our plate. We're flying a brand new spacecraft, going up, docking to the International Space Stations, which is going to have some amazing new improvements put on it on the outside, as well as amazing science going on the inside. So we'll be really busy. And so that transformation is going to happen quick. But I know both of them are up for the task, and both of them are so talented that this is just going to come natural. And I'm looking forward to that time, probably a month into the flight, and then boom, they'll just be flying around like they've been there their whole lives. And I'll just be able to sit back and watch that happen. So it's just going to be incredible and awesome.
Indeed. So for Sunny and Jeanette, women in STEM have and continue to play a critical role in how we explore the universe and what it has to offer. How do you think your mission will change the way women are viewed in space exploration? And do you feel it's important that young women see this representation?
Yeah, absolutely. We're really lucky to have this position to be astronauts. I think if anybody asked, how did you become an astronaut, we could maybe give them our little cookbook of how we applied and try to, get this job. But then at the end game is how did it really happen? I don't know. And I actually don't want to ask those questions to the people who are in charge. But somehow we're here, and we are role models, whether we like it or not. And the things that we do are impactful to young women, young men, all over the world, not to mention just in the United States. And so what we're doing is just setting the stage for the things that the future generations can do. And when they see us and they can see themselves in us, they realize, wow, I can do that, and probably I can do a whole lot more. So I think it's really important. Jeanette?
Well, I agree with you, Sunny. We are role models, whether we like it or not. And so we do have a lot of responsibility in that. But also what I hope little girls see is that it's kind of normal for women to do this, that everyone does this. This is how the world works. And these are what teams look like in the future. So, these little girls are seeing us do this, and they're thinking, well, of course that's how it works. Of course women are doing this, and why not me? I can do this too. So you're right. I think it'll be very important for girls to see this.
So Josh, you're from the class of 8 balls. And one of the unique characteristics of your class is that it was comprised of 4 females and 4 males. Do you feel that reflects, as Jeanette was talking about, a normalization of women in STEM?
Well, I think even beyond that, it reflects how to get the job done, right? I mean, that's the coolest thing about the 8 balls is that it's just an amazing group of incredibly talented people that happens to reflect society. And that's what's so invigorating to me is that, if we want a problem to get solved, we need all kinds of people. We need everybody represented, because if we all look the same, if we all think the same, we're all going to react the same way. And that's no way to explore. That's no way to be innovative. So yeah, I wish Boeing would put in a half dozen more seats and we could bring all the 8-balls. But it's amazing to be on a team that both CTS1 and the 8-balls that just has a mix of all the best that society has to offer.
That would be interesting, Josh, but I think we'd have a little bit of problem with getting that much weight off the ground.
Now we can use the Saturn V back here.
So awesome. One thing for Sunny and Jeanette, you know, you two have led accomplished careers, and the roles that you have and the jobs that you've had have been held traditionally in the past by males. So what has helped you to persevere?
So, you know, that's a really good question. I think for me, it's been a little bit just keep your head down and do your job, honestly. I've had really supportive family and friends around me who have never really questioned my role in the things that I've done, being in the military or being here at NASA. You know, and particularly, you know, I have to give a shout out to my really supportive husband. My parents were sort of, I think, a little bit more like, what are you doing? Never like, why are you doing? But just like, what are you doing? And then they're like, oh, that's interesting. And then they learned a little bit more about it. But, you know, my husband has always been there for me and just been always like, you know, you've got skills, just do the right thing, do your job, put your head down and go. And I think that has really been my mantra. I know that it's been a little bit harder for specifically some of the physical things, like for women in a spacesuit. I know that's harder. So like, oh boy, okay, this is a challenge. What are the things that you have to do to rise to that challenge? Oh, maybe I need to lift weights. You know, that might not have been my forte while I was growing up. I was a swimmer. But I knew what I had to do, looked at that problem and tried to solve that problem and do the best that I can do. And you can't help but compare yourself, because I think that's what everybody does, particularly if you have a role that's another person is going to have. And you, instead of looking at that as a bad competition, I tried to look at it like, okay, what is that person doing that's really good? And how could I emulate that? Or how could I learn from that person? And I think those are ways to go about finding your place in a place which maybe doesn't feel like your place. And eventually one day you just go, you know what? I belong. I'm here. I'm doing the job just like everybody else is doing. But I can't help but telling you that there's definitely doubts along the way, but there's strategies to mitigate those doubts. And I think that's what has been the most helpful with my family and friends and support around me.
Yeah, I definitely think that, Sunny, having a really good support system. Like I'm one of 7 kids, but I always have my twin sister. And so, you know, when there are those little self-doubts, you guys can kind of, when you have someone like that, you can kind of bounce ideas off of each other and support each other. You know, and another thing that helped me was that, you know, definitely looking at what other people are doing and trying to emulate people who are doing things well and staying consistent over time. But also, I made it a point to compete against myself. I would set the bar, see what other people are doing, and try to set that bar just slightly higher and compete to get to that point. And that's kind of how my twin sister and I worked it through high school, undergrad, and graduate school. So setting bars for yourself just slightly higher, you say you don't get there, you will have reached a higher level than you ever imagined. So those are some of the things. Having a good support system through my family and friends, making sure I'm competitive, but also competing against myself and setting my bar higher than normal. So.
Awesome. So for Josh and Jeanette, both of you will be flying for the first time. What have you discovered to be the most challenging as you prepare?
Well, at least from my perspective, and Jeanette, I'll let you take it after that, but from my perspective, if it's not challenging, it tends to not be that interesting and that fun. Sometimes it's fun after the fact, but that's the cool thing about our job. Everything we do tends to be really challenging, whether that's, you know, spacewalk preparation, which, you know, going back to what Sunny was just saying, I'm in that position, not having done spacewalks, And here I am working in the pool next to Sunny, and I can watch, wow, here's one of the most experienced spacewalkers that is on the planet, and I can see how she does it. And I mean, because we're both trying to get the same job done. She does it with a little bit more finesse, and so I can try to mimic that as much as I can. But spacewalk training is a challenge, but it's worth it. Robotics, it's worth it. Knowing these systems, whether it's the vehicle we're going to go live on for 6 months or the vehicle we're going to take to get up there, they're very complex vehicles. And for me, that challenge makes it really, really rewarding. But I think the hardest challenge is actually for other people. I get the question all the time, when are you going to go flying? For me, not going flying is pretty doggone fun too, because we're getting ready to do it. For everybody else, they just want to see us go. Maybe I have that effect on my family here. They're excited to get me out of here for a little bit. But in terms of what we do, challenging is rewarding. It truly is.
I have to agree with that. There's so many cool things that we do throughout the training, regardless of which vehicle you're training for. You always have a ton of things that are going to be challenging. But I think for me, one of the things that kind of almost not sidetrack, but the research that we're going to do on orbit, be it related to materials, be it related to even looking at combustion products, looking at genetics, stem cells, DNA. The rodent research, all of these different things is very exciting to me, because a lot of that research is going to come back. We're going to bring it all back, everything we learn, and it's going to help here on Earth. So everything that we do is going to propel us forward into space, but also help us here on Earth. And the challenge of doing it right and making sure we're the eyes and the hands of the researchers back here and doing it correctly so that they get great results. That's one of the big things I'm concerned about. But, I think I'm up for the challenge and trying to do all the rodent research and looking at the material science on board. So it's going to be a great time.
Very good. So Sunny, as a very experienced crew member, how have you approached this role differently?
Yeah, it's another good question, Vanessa, because I'm super lucky, right? I got to fly in a space shuttle with some very experienced people and learn a whole lot. I got to fly in a Soyuz with, again, a very experienced commander, and one of my peers who I flew with, Aki Hoshidi, and the Russian commander Yuri Malenchenko, and now this flight on the Boeing Starliner. I mean, what a dream come true, and what a great crew. I got Josh and Jeanette, and then probably one of our international partners. And so what I'm looking forward to really is this new experience of actually finding where people's strong points are and really capitalizing on them, and like dividing the roles. Like, I've always been just the guy who was in there and was sort of told what to do for the past spacecraft and the space station. And this one, it's really working with the team. Like I mentioned in the first question you asked me, a brand new team, and capitalizing on their skills, their talents, and looking and listening to them when they have inputs. It's going to be really cool to hear people's opinions and impressions about how we should do the training, how we should get ready for flight, what tasks we should do on this brand new spacecraft, how we're going to divide up with a crew of 4 on the International Space Station, which for me is going to be different from before having just a crew of 3. So this is going to be a lot of fun, just sort of divvying out the tasks and working with each other up in space. I'm pretty excited about all of that. It's going to be new for me and exciting.
Yes, and as you mentioned, you guys have been doing a lot of work with Boeing as they're developing this vehicle and helping them to get ready. So NASA will continue to work with commercial partners. What is the importance of this partnership and our center's vision to dare, unite, and explore?
Yeah, from my opinion, this is just the cusp of the commercial flying into space, right? Not only people, but vehicles, and we have many just on the verge of utilizing space as a commercial entity, and we're showcasing just another company that has the capability of putting people on a spacecraft and taking them to low Earth orbit to do the science that we're going to do the exploration engineering that we're going to do, but also, just opening it up to more and more people around the world that can go to space and what companies can do. That competition between the companies that we fostered as NASA throughout the United States is just incredible. I mean, I can name off 5 companies, right off the top of my head that are going to be putting spacecraft into low Earth orbit for commercialization, and we can utilize their competition, their innovative ways of doing research, of being able to do that as we go on to NASA's greater goals of exploration. So I feel like we're just a little part of that, but it's a pretty exciting and blossoming field that we're opening up. So again, I mean, where we are in history is incredible, and we just thank everybody for allowing us to be a part of that. So it's a great place to be.
Josh, Jeanette, do you have anything to add about the partnership and how that's going and thoughts about going forward?
Well, one of the things that I want to add is that I think it's a wonderful thing that we're trying to normalize going to space. And, as we commercialize going to low Earth orbit, it'll become easier, streamlined, and it'll be like a regular thing for every kid on the planet. But then NASA can focus on bigger and better things, like establishing a presence on the moon and making that our focus, but also utilizing what we learned in low Earth orbit to get the human body to last longer in space outside of Earth's protection. I think all of these things are very important for the future of all of the space exploration that we should do.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think for whatever we're going to do in the future of human spaceflight, it's got to be done this way. We have to leverage the expertise and knowledge that we have from a bunch of different places. Not unlike we were just talking about within a crew, when we have different people with different backgrounds and different skill sets, we complement each other, and we're going to be better together than we are individually. And I think it goes at an agency and kind of a global scale as well, that if we're not using the expertise that certain companies and certain entities already have, then we're leaving scientific money on the table. We can leverage that and really get to where we want to be, because if we try to do this on our own, we've all learned that never works out.
Okay, so we're going to pivot a little bit. NASA has had a lot of strong innovators and explorers as women as a part of our very rich history, and they've contributed to science and technology. I'm interested from each of you, what female has inspired you the most?
Wow. I would have to say classically Vanessa, of course, because I'm an astronaut. There's female astronauts who have inspired me, of course. Eileen Collins, Wendy Lawrence, a little bit closer to me because she's another helicopter pilot. So, people who have, you see yourself as or in, I think that's probably the ones who, at least got me moving toward, like, even thinking that, wow, this is a possibility, I might be able to do this. But when I came here, I will just have to say, another lady who, our backgrounds are very different, just really inspired me is Ellen Ochoa. And she was, of course, an astronaut, but I don't even, I think of her as that, but I more think of her as an amazing leader. And she was the head of flight operations and also then, of course, the center director here at Johnson Space Center. And I think the big thing about her, she is amazingly professional, amazingly organized, and funny. Of course, as the astronaut office, we have a couple things that we do that are like hail and farewells, or little Christmas parties and things like that. And this very organized, amazingly smart lady can be sharp as a tack and funny as heck. And I was, I just look at her and I see how she operates, and she knows how to hold a team together. And I think that's really where I find the inspiration, is someone who is a person. They have all those other characteristics, those technical characteristics, but could actually just be really down to earth, a person, and really can get people to work together. So I'd have to say Ellen is pretty cool.
Cool.
Yeah. So
Jeanette?
for me, I second everything that Sunny said about the women in the astronaut office. And but I want to go back to prior to coming to the astronaut office, one of the people who inspired me to actually apply was my former boss, Sue Gordon, who was a director where I worked, and then she became one of the directors out at the DNI. And the reason she was such an inspiration was because just what Sunny said. She was very smart, very talented, but she was also a compassionate human being. She was well-read, and she always had great advice, no matter what the topic was. If you had an issue, you went to her to ask, and very supportive of the people who worked for her, extremely supportive. And so I would have to say Sue Gordon, and of course the ladies at NASA are complete inspirations. And so, but it's women like that that have inspired me and helped me to stay consistent and persevere through a lot of different things.
Very good. Josh?
Well, Vanessa, the woman who was an inspiration and even more influential in my life is not anybody famous, but she certainly is in my mind. It was my 7th grade math teacher, Mrs. Otis. And she took care of knocking down some of those early dominoes that if they hadn't fallen, I wouldn't be sitting here talking with you today. After 6th grade and before 7th grade, we had to take a math test to see if we'd be in advanced math. That didn't really exist at the elementary level. And I did okay on the test, but not spectacular, and not enough to get into the advanced math. And during that summer, she said, is this really your level of performance? And she knew I was upset about it. And so she gave me a chance to take it again. And that's what I think is important. She gave me a chance. And so I did. I probably overstudied, as Sunny is probably all too familiar with, and went in and did well on the test. Did probably too well, which meant I wasted a lot of that summer. But I ended up in advanced math. And without doing that in 7th grade, I look at my progression professionally, and that would have meant had I not been in advanced math, I wouldn't have gone to calculus in high school. Had I not done calculus in high school, it would have been difficult to do physics as an undergraduate, because the language of physics is math. And then you'd kind of be starting out, behind the 8 ball, so to speak. So without Mrs. Otis's belief in me, I don't think this path would have necessarily been as available. Maybe I would have had a chance, but she certainly made it available to me.
Well, thank you all for sharing those role models. And, Josh, especially yours, I'm smiling because both of my parents were educators, and I do know the impact of them on other people's lives. And so, for all of us, I know hats off to our educators. So one final question. And so for the men and women who have dedicated their careers to human exploration, just wondering from each of you, what piece of advice would you want to give them?
Wow. Well, first of all, a huge thank you. This is it's not an easy job, as we're all can attest to it. There's every day you're coming in, and exciting. Josh, like Josh mentioned, it's exciting. To come to work in the space program. There's something new, something interesting you're going to do, but it's hard, and it takes a lot of patience and a lot of hand wringing to make sure that we're making good decisions. And you know what? At the end of the day, I feel like I can go home and I can sleep well because of all of these people, the men and women out there who are making those hard decisions and making the right decisions, knowing that us and our families are counting on them. So the biggest thing I would like to say is, of course, thank you. I think for a piece of advice, just always remember that we trust in you. We believe in you. We know what you are, your judgment, the calls that you're making. We're behind you 100%, and just keep up the great work, and don't ever let your guard down. So just a big thank you, all in all, actually.
Jeanette?
Well, one of the big things for me is recognizing that everyone involved in space exploration is a part of the team. We just happen to be the face of the team, and we get to fly to the space station, but we wouldn't be able to do that without all the people who love space exploration, participate in getting us up to the space station safely and bringing us back home safely. So I agree with Sunny. Thank you for everything that you're doing. And remember, you're a part of the team. We all go as one and we come back as one. So thank you.
Yeah, I would say maybe less as advice, but more as a reminder. Nothing you do is unimportant to this program. And, I've said it before about our rocket, about our vehicle. We're going to dock to the space station, and including the space station itself. Nobody is sitting there next to our families as we launch on launch day and saying, well, we did a pretty good job. We cut a couple corners, but we did a pretty good job. It'll probably work out, right? Nobody has that attitude. And because everybody's given their all, no matter what it is, that's what gives us the confidence to be able to do this and do our job well. And so a big thank you.
Well, a big thank you to each of you. So on behalf of the employees of NASA's Johnson Space Center, I want to thank Sunny, Jeanette, and Josh for sharing much wisdom with us during this special International Women's Day program. And I'm truly excited to watch each of you when you launch into space aboard the Starliner. For those watching at home, make sure to join these crew members on their journey by following @AstroJeanette, @AstroSunny, and @AstroJosh. This concludes our program. Happy International Women's Day.